In today's video, I will be giving you one big question for every single AFC team. Before we get into this video though, let me remind you to check out DUBBY.GG. Use code SHREDDER for 10% off your order of anything on their website. They have the energy drink powders, the energy drink bottles, the other merch they have. They just actually did add canned energy drinks. Those, I don't think you can use the code SHREDDER yet. They have a block on that since they're a new drop, but they will be discounted very soon. So go check out their website, DUBBY.GG, or use the link down in my description of this video. Either way, let's get right into this video. All right, let's get this started. First off, we have the AFC East. We're going to start with the Buffalo Bills. To me, their big question for this offseason, these are all going to be questions for the team coming up this fall. So, who is going to be their number one weapon? Is it going to be Keon Coleman? Is it going to be Curtis Samuel? Is it going to be Dalton Kincaid? Or really, receiving weapon, that is. Somebody has to take over a big hole left by Stephon Diggs. Whether Stephon Diggs was good last year, bad last year, somewhere in between, someone has to take up the workload he had. Someone has to get those catches. And who is that going to be? In my opinion, I think you should hopefully try to make it Dalton Kincaid or Keon Coleman, because those are potentially your future. But other guys, Curtis Samuel, Dawson Knox, those guys are more than likely going to be out of here within the next 3 to 4 years because of the rest of the team around them. Moving on to the New York Jets. To me, this is going to be, is this O-line going to be enough to keep Rodgers available for 17-plus games? Because is it just his age? That's really the question that we're boiling down to. Is it Rodgers' age, or is it the fact that it was a fluke last year? Is he fine? Can he be healthy? Because this team without Rodgers is not going to go anywhere. Not a single place. They have to have Aaron Rodgers. We haven't even seen him play, and he's still that important. This O-line, it's a great thing to do to try to build up your O-line for your quarterback, but if the quarterback still's not healthy for other reasons, what are you going to do? The Miami Dolphins are next, and theirs is, can Tua reach the next level? Because I'm just in pretty big doubt of if he can or not. I'm not really sure if Tua Tagovailoa is good enough to be, a Super Bowl winning quarterback. Now, could they win a Super Bowl with him? Maybe. Could they win a Super Bowl by him? No, I am not. I don't think those are two different things, and I don't think Tua is good enough to win a Super Bowl on his own. There's situations where guys have to play out these games, go and win the games themselves. That's only going to happen with guys like Mahomes and Josh Allen and Joe Burrow, that tier of guys. This tier, the Tua Tagovailoa tier, Trevor Lawrence's and whoever else. At this point, we don't know that those guys can win a Super Bowl on their own. Brock Purdy kind of fits in that tier too. Either way, going to the New England Patriots. How long until we see Drake May start, or how long until he should start? Should they sit him the whole year? I don't think it's a bad idea to to keep a guy in waiting, like Mahomes. Mahomes didn't play the entirety of his first year until Game 17. That didn't matter because they're going to the playoffs, whatever. That doesn't really count. But he didn't play his first year. Drake May, I think Drake May is the second best quarterback in this class behind Caleb Williams. I think he could be very good, but this team is not set up to win now or next year. This team is set up to win in like 3 or 4 years. So, on one hand, do you give him the experience this year, but at the same time risk a lot of, mess ups to his just development and just developing bad habits? Or do you wait till a time like next year whenever you might get another weapon or two? Might be a good idea. Next is the AFC North and Bengals. Can Joe Burrow stay healthy, please? That's our question here. And as a Steelers fan, maybe not, please. Sorry, Joe, but hey, if you keep getting hurt, you keep getting hurt. No, I'm just kidding. For the sake of the Bengals, can Joe stay healthy? And that's a huge question here, because he hasn't really been able to maintain himself through an entire season so far, and that's a big issue. The best ability is availability. For the Cleveland Browns, will Watson ever be Watson again? He was so good in Houston. Football only we're talking about here. He was so good in Houston. He was one of the best quarterbacks in the league, had a year where he was statistically the best quarterback in the league, and he just hasn't been there. I don't know if it's been because he wasn't able to practice with the team for over a year, and then when he was able to play, he just kind of had to come in there and just instantly start. I don't know if it's because he's just been hurt. I don't know what it is, but can Deshaun Watson ever be Deshaun Watson again? If so, if he can even be, 3/4 of what he formerly was, this could be a legitimate Super Bowl team. But they're the Browns, so let's hamper that. Then the Ravens. I think their big question is, did you miss your chance? Can Lamar do it? Because one, Lamar is not a playoff performer. We have seen that time and time again. This guy chokes in the playoffs. They had every chance to win that game against Kansas City. Their defense clamped up on Patrick Mahomes. They just couldn't move the ball. And the Chiefs' defense was not as good as the Ravens' defense, so they should have been able to, and they just weren't. Part of it's because Lamar can't throw outside the numbers. He's a very limited passer. He's a great football player. He's just not a great quarterback. So did that last season, did losing some of these key guys, Mike McDonald coaching Patrick Queen, whoever else, even Odell is just a veteran presence, did that hurt more than help? Can you still win a Super Bowl with this team? I don't know. The Steelers. This question is next year's quarterback on the roster today? Because, in my opinion, some people think the Steelers are going to only win 6 games. You're crazy. You said that last year. And we had worse quarterback play last year and won 10 games. I think it's very much realistic that this team wins anywhere from 9 to 13 games. Because, yes, the schedule's hard. And who's going to be hurt later on in the year for other teams that we're not considering now? You can't look at that necessarily. Either way, the Steelers' problem is who is the quarterback today and who is the quarterback in a year? Because I don't think Justin Fields is any kind of good. If he didn't run a 4.4, no one would care. Had the worst fourth quarter stats of all quarterbacks in the league last year, including some backups, like Easton Stick. Worse stats in the fourth quarter than he did. Just not a good quarterback. Just not at all. He's just not. He's a good athlete. He's a terrible quarterback. Russell Wilson, on the other hand, has he played great lately? Not really. We haven't seen a lot great from him. However, in a scheme where he, may be more comfortable like this with Arthur Smith, this goes back to his Seattle days a bit where he won Super Bowls. Could something happen here with a young George Pickens, with a young Najee Harris, the young Pat Freiermuth, with a young Roman Wilson? Could this do something? I think that's possible. Plus, the defense here is way better than in Denver. So, we'll see. Next, the AFC South, the Colts. 2 words. Anthony Richardson. All right, that's it. Jaguars, T-Law. Is his time running out? Trevor Lawrence, what are we doing here? I'm a Trevor fan. I think he can do it. I think he hasn't been helped out enough. I don't think that Christian Kirk and Calvin Ridley are anywhere near good enough for, a wide receiver 1 for this team. I think he needs more help than that. Is Gabe Davis any better? No, not really at all. But I do like Brian Thomas Jr. Could that help? Maybe. Either way, just Trevor Lawrence. What are we doing, man? That's what we got to figure out here. For Houston, this one is going to be, can we avoid a sophomore slump? Can we avoid the slump for C.J. Stroud and DeMeco Ryans even as a sophomore head coach? That's a tough thing to do. A lot of people are quick to throw C.J. Stroud into a top 10 quarterback conversation when that is just nowhere near the truth. He may be about top 20 because, in my opinion, you can't become a top-tier player in one season of NFL football. Think about Dameon Pierce, another Texan. He was very, very, very good his rookie year. One of the better running backs in the league that year. And last year, he stank. That's a perfect example. Oh, well, it's a running back, and that's different. His line got better. His coaching got better. Why was he so bad? It doesn't make sense. It just happens. Some guys, they have a good year, they have a bad year. It just happens. There's no way to control it. There's no way to change it. There's no way to do anything about it. Can they prevent the sophomore slump? Can they get to it? Because this year, they're not going to play every game at 1 o'clock. They're not going to have these easy things where when they lose, no one's going to notice. They're not going to have the expectation last year. If they lost a game, no one would have cared because they're the Texans. They stink. Now, that's not the case. If they lose, scrutiny's going to fly in from every direction. It's going to be a big, big deal if they lose. And so we've got to see them really perform and prove that they are going to be as good as they are. The Tennessee Titans now. This team will either side of the ball be as good as advertised? Because I'm not going to be shocked if neither is. The defense has lost more pieces than they gained, in my opinion. Love Jeffrey Simmons. Harold Landry's been hurt for years. Their quarterback room is spotty. They got Snead, which is good, but I'm not really a big sell on Chidobe Awuzie. He's not been healthy in a long, long time. Roger McCreary's fine, but you get Snead. That's a good upgrade for sure. But besides that, I'm not sure how good the rest of this unit is. The defense, spotty. The offense has a lot of hype going into it. They brought in a lot of guys. Calvin Ridley, Tyler Boyd, Tony Pollard. But in my opinion, Calvin Ridley is nowhere near as good as a lot of people think. DeAndre Hopkins is probably only going to get worse because he's older. Treylon Burks is probably a guy who needs to be traded at this point for a new setting. Who else am I missing? Calvin Ridley, he's not. I've already said that. Tyler Boyd, not as good as I think. Whatever. Either way, Tony Pollard's also nowhere near as good as people think for whatever reason. They think that, excuse me. But can this team be any kind of as good as advertised? That's a big, big question there. All right, moving on. We got the Denver Broncos. My question for them is, what direction are you going? Are you going up, or are you trying to go down? Which one? You're looking up, or are you going down, or you're looking down, you're going up? You got to figure that out, because what I mean by that is this roster's not good. The best receiver is Cortland Sutton, who is a solid wide receiver too. The defense has Patrick Surtain, and that's about it. I mean, that's really the only relevancy on this defense. Are you trying to, tank and, gather, pieces to put this team back together? Or are you trying to win now with a bummed out roster and maybe make some 1 and 2 moves to make things better? Which way are you going? Because I don't think anybody knows, and I'm not sure that they know entirely, to be honest with you. The Chargers. How will Harbaugh turn it around, and how fast will that be? Like, how long are we going to let him go? I think Jim Harbaugh, is a very, very good coach. He was a 45-19 record before he left football, the NFL, the first time. I think he's a very good coach. I'm not worried about him being a good coach. It's just, how good is he? How fast can he turn this unit around to make this, a relevant team as soon as possible? Justin Herbert's a very, very, very good quarterback. They have really good pieces along the team. Obviously, they bring in Joe Alt. They have Rashawn Slater. I like Ladd McConkey a whole lot. I think he's going to be a good player. That's about the only unit they have there. Defensively, Joey Bosa has had some upside. Tuli Tuipulotu is a good young player. Khalil Mack's solid still. The cornerback room, I really like Asante Samuel Jr., Derwin James, etc., etc. They got pieces, but can they put it together? Can Jim Harbaugh really put this team together? Then the Chiefs. A repeat is hard. How much harder is a three-peat? Because let's be real. Who is their biggest opponent in this conference? It's up for grabs. It's the Chiefs one. I think the Ravens can be considered. However, I think they got worse, especially after losing McDonald. I think it's going to hurt. I think the Bills can be considered. The Bengals, the Steelers can be considered. Because I really do think that the Steelers, with their new coming quarterback play, there's no way that you think they can be worse when last year they had the national terrorists that are Mitch Trubisky and Matt Canada. Either way, that's a story for another time. But the Chiefs, how hard is a three-peat? Because, what's the chances they can do that? I don't know. The Raiders now, final team here. How close is this roster to being sufficient? Because you might look at it and be like, okay, hey, we have Devontae Adams. Hey, yeah, let's go. We've got, we've got 2 good tight ends, 2 young good tight ends. We've got 2 good receivers behind Devontae Adams in Trey Tucker and in, Jacoby Myers. The O-line's looking up a little bit. The defense has some players too. Malcolm Kuntz looks like an up-and-coming player. Max Crosby. But at the same time, while you're saying all that, Devontae Adams is getting kind of old. Jacoby Myers also getting a little older. Max Crosby kind of wasting his prime now. Malcolm Kuntz, he's got to prove it. The secondary's not amazing. This roster, can they go up fast enough to where they don't have to worry about going down before they go back up? Because they're gonna lose players soon if they don't hurry up and get something going legitimately for this team now. That is going to do it for this video. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. What team is the biggest question? What do you think? I don't know. Either way, let me know what you think about this video down in the comment section below, and I will see y'all in the next video.